The night Emily Carter died, the city of Chicago was unusually quiet. No sirens. No shouting. Just cold wind brushing against abandoned factories on the south side. Her body was discovered at 4:17 a.m., lying behind a rusted warehouse that hadn't been used in decades. She was 19 years old. The police called it a crime of passion within hours. The media called it an open-and-shut case. But when the file landed on my desk, I knew they were all wrong. My name is Rachel Monroe, and I am a criminal defense attorney. I have spent 12 years listening to lies spoken under oath and truths whispered in fear. I don't believe in coincidence, and I don't believe in simple answers. Especially when a young woman dies and everyone seems too eager to move on. Emily Carter was a college freshman. Good grades. No criminal history. No record of violence. Her death was brutal, blunt force trauma to the head, followed by strangulation. The police arrested Jason Reed, her boyfriend of 8 months, before sunrise. He was found in his apartment, hands shaking, unable to explain why his phone had last pinged near the warehouse. The news channels ran his photo on a loop. Jealous boyfriend snaps, the headlines screamed. Social media did the rest. By the time I met Jason, he was already convicted in the court of public opinion. I remember the first thing he said to me. Not, I'm innocent. Not, you have to help me. He said, they won't listen, will they? His eyes were hollow, the kind you see in people who already know the ending of their story. I requested the case file that same day. As I read through the autopsy report, something felt wrong. The estimated time of death was between 11 p.m. and 12 a.m. Jason's phone records placed him at home after 10:30 p.m., with rideshare receipts and security camera footage from his apartment building. The police dismissed it as manipulated timing. Convenient. Then I noticed Emily's hands. No defensive wounds. No broken nails. No skin under her fingernails that belonged to Jason or anyone else. That doesn't happen in a crime of passion. That happens when the victim knows their attacker, or doesn't have the chance to fight back. I dug deeper into Emily's background. Her friends described her as quiet but anxious in the weeks before her death. She had missed classes. Changed her routine. She had told one roommate she felt unsafe at home, but never explained why. Her family records showed something else. Her mother had remarried 3 years earlier. Her stepfather's name was Mark Holloway. Mark Holloway was a respected real estate developer. Wealthy. Well-connected. Untouchable, at least on paper. His name appeared nowhere in the police report. No interview. No statement. No alibi verification. That omission was loud. When I requested to interview him, I received a call from the district attorney's office within minutes, advising me to stay focused on my client. That was the moment I realized this case was never meant to reach the truth. Emily Carter was dead, Jason Reed was the perfect suspect, and then City was ready to forget. But I wasn't. Because some cases don't disappear. They wait. And this one was just getting started. By the second week, the prosecution had built a narrative so clean it felt artificial. Jason Reed was portrayed as possessive, unstable, and emotionally volatile. They pulled private text messages out of context, turned normal arguments into red flags, and painted love as obsession. It was a story the jury would understand easily. Too easily. Jason, meanwhile, was unraveling. Not because he was guilty, but because he was powerless. Every motion I filed was delayed. Every request for evidence was under review. Surveillance footage from nearby streets had mysteriously been overwritten. Witnesses who initially claimed they saw a middle-aged man near the warehouse suddenly changed their statements. I visited Emily's college campus on my own time. Her friends were nervous, constantly looking over their shoulders. One of them finally broke down and told me Emily had been planning to file a police report against someone in her family. She didn't say who. She didn't need to. When I approached Emily's mother, her hands trembled as she spoke. She insisted her husband was grieving. She insisted Jason was dangerous. She insisted the police knew what they were doing. Fear has a sound, and her voice was full of it. Then came the warning. An unmarked envelope arrived at my office. Inside was a single photo, me leaving the courthouse, and a note that read, "Some stories are better left untold." That was when I knew I was no longer just a lawyer on this case. I was a problem. The truth surfaced quietly, as it often does. A deleted voicemail recovered from Emily's old phone backup. Her voice, shaking, apologizing to someone for not being ready yet. The number belonged to Mark Holloway. When I presented it to the court, the prosecution objected before I finished my sentence. The judge sustained it. Evidence dismissed. Just like that. Behind closed doors, I was advised to withdraw from the case. My reputation, my safety, my career were all mentioned in the same breath. I refused. Jason was offered a plea deal the next day. 25 years. It's better than life, they told him. He looked at me, eyes red, and asked if the truth ever mattered. I didn't have an answer. The trial never happened. The charges against Jason were quietly reduced, then dropped due to procedural errors. No apology. No explanation. Emily's case was labeled unsolved and archived. Mark Holloway left the country 6 months later for business opportunities. Emily's mother stopped returning calls. The city moved on. I didn't. Years have passed, but Emily Carter's case still sits in my mind, untouched by justice. I tell this story because silence protects the powerful. Because truth doesn't always win in court. And because somewhere, someone needs to know that Emily existed, and that what happened to her was not a mystery. Some cases refuse to stay buried. And neither will this one.